AstraZeneca, Moderna, BioNTech, even Sinovac, okay na. Babakuna ka ba? 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 Vaccination for the nation, no more isolation. With vaccination. Babakuna ka ba? 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 Paturok, paturok, paturok.
To all RJ Digi TV viewers, you can also watch us on YouTube channel RJ Digi TV. Just go to YouTube, type RJ space Digi TV, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and get your daily dose of your favorite programs. Thank you for watching RJ Digi TV. Current news, controversies, discussions, sentimiento ng bayan. Switch it on or just tune in to know the hottest and latest issues around. On Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Affordabox, and all DTT boxes. Also heard on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Gising na! Powered by Daily Tribune. Coming soon on Teleradio Bandido TV. You are watching the multi-awarded Radio Bandido TV on Channel 224 Sky Cable and TV Plus boxes. Simulcast on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Informing, advising, and entertaining the Filipinos and OFWs around the world. Streaming live on www.facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup.
Hello, Philippines, and welcome to the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJ TV. My name is Eric Lecain, and I am joined, as always, with Lolly Tolentino. We're right here on the radio on 8:10 a.m. and on Sky Cable, channel 224. And if you don't have a television or a radio and all you have is a cell phone, check us out on YouTube, RJAM News. You can see all the shows right there. Now, Lolly Tolentino, welcome, and how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Eric. Exciting day.
Yes.
It's a Sunday.
I was going to say it is a Sunday. It is one of the first days that we have had in Cebu that it has not rained. I don't know if you've been having rain in Manila, but in Cebu it has been raining every single day. We love the rain here. Okay, sometimes we don't, but yeah, it's been raining a lot here in Cebu.
Yeah. It's been hot here in Manila.
Yeah.
Some part are raining, but not like every day.
Yeah, well, it's getting back to being hot here in Cebu. So, listen, we have a ton of questions that we have to get to today, I know. And so I want to see if we can get through all of them. What do we have today? You know, I was going to read one of the questions here. You know, before we get started, remember the glasses I got last week? Well, I needed to get them just a little bit adjusted, and I went down to that same place again, IQ Optical at Cash and Carry, and they adjusted my glasses. They did it right there. It was free, and I think that I am going to get another pair. Do you know why, Lolly Tolentino?
Why?
Well, there's two reasons. One, I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to read in bed, and then I take my glasses off in bed, and then I roll over on them and I squash them. Happens to me all the time. I lose them like I lose my car keys, and so I need an extra pair, and it just turns out that starting today, IQ Optical is having a big sale from 50 to 70% off on their glasses, so I'm going to get another pair. Now, Lai Tolentino, what glasses are you wearing today?
Well, look at this. Do I look good in my glasses?
You look great, Tolentino, but I think you need another pair at 50 to 70% off. So maybe both of us will head down there to IQ Optical and get us some new glasses. But on that note, Lolly, what is our first question now that we've got your glasses on you? What is our first question today that someone has sent in to us? Because we are going to talk about things going on around the world. What do you got?
All right, the very first question that we have for today is from Glenn of Marikina City. President Biden of USA banned Americans to invest in some Chinese companies. Why is that? Explain a bit.
Well, okay. All right. The reason that Biden is doing this is the same reason that Trump did it. They don't trust China. They really don't trust China. They are worried about is the technology and how much of the China military is tied into the tech companies there. Now, in the U.S., as in much of the world, tech companies such as phone companies, communication companies, media, CCTV companies, they're separate from the military. But in China, everything is interconnected. If the government needs you to spy on somebody, then you spy on that person. And I guess the issue is, why does Biden, Biden believes that these companies in China, these ones that they're making examples of, are a direct threat to the U.S. security. And he doesn't want Americans investing or buying products that are perceived to be able to spy. So, of course, China is mad about this. And they're saying it goes against free rights of investors to pick what companies they like. And it will have a big impact on the global investment, the global economy, because, if a U.S. citizen or a company or a bank is invested in a foreign company, not a Chinese company, a foreign company, and that company is invested in one of the companies that's banned in China, what does that mean? What does that mean? How is that going to mess up the global economy? And I think, with China, sometimes it's hard to tell where the head ends and the tail begins, because they're so they influence such other countries so much that sometimes the country may be spying and not even know it. So I think that is one of the big reasons. And let me just make one other point. A lot of companies in the U.S., they use parts from Chinese companies that are on this list. So how are they going to deal with that? How is that going to impact the global economy? Because we've said on the show that the global economy is the future. It is. It has to be.
Yeah.
But if we believe that the cell phone we just bought is now sending our text messages to an underground network in China to see where we live or what we do or what political affiliation we are or how we might vote in the next election, or we're pushed to buy a certain kind of CCTV camera that comes with an easy-used app, and that app's servers are in China. I mean, how safe is this technology coming from China?
Oh, well, you have a point there because that's why everybody's kind of scared of, making a deal with China. Maybe in other products it's okay, but not really in the technology. And this is one thing that a lot of people are worried about. Even here in the Philippines, the reason they're scared of, we will be invaded by China one of these days because they monitor us and everything we do. That is, I understand why Biden is doing that for U.S. especially.
Yeah. I mean, we're not so worried. I mean, if China finds out that what I'm buying at the grocery store, I mean, that's not going to really matter that much. But if China knows or can kind of sway the way I vote in an election, or what kind of products that I might buy, or what kind of products I might invest in, and they're able to know that information. I mean, that's very valuable to a country like China. And the surveillance equipment, that is just insane because you get CCTV cameras, I get them to look at my house. And then in order to be able to see it over the web, you sign up for the app that comes with the camera. And where is that app? Where are the servers on that app? And where do they come from? And so I think this is a lot of things that they're worried about, that China just has too much control over its tech, and the military has too much control over them.
Okay. Let's not invest there anyway. So.
Let's be
All right,
careful.
let's go to Momoy of Manila. How can the U.S. solve the problem of vaccine hesitancy? What is your idea?
All right. Well, this is a real dilemma because unlike many other countries where vaccine hesitancy, which is a new term, by the way, is based on fear and misinformation, in the U.S., much of this is based around people's political views, which may be a lot worse. Fear you can overcome, and, wrong information you can overcome. But what if your senator or your president is on the side of misinformation? And that is the person that you back and that you voted for. And what if you have in your mind that if the Democrats are pushing you to get a vaccine, is me going to get a vaccine going to help the Democrats? Well, for sure, I'm not going to get a vaccine because it's helping the Democrats. And this is what I hear. This is what I hear. And a lot of times, these people, they use the regular excuses for a reason why not to get it. And I hear this all the time. First of all, they rushed through the vaccine. They rushed through it, so it's not safe. But it was done really quickly. However, they did it using the same protocols that they do in any vaccine. It's just with this particular vaccine, they had a lot more resources to work with because it's a world pandemic. And so they had a lot more money than what we're used to having in doing a vaccine. And also, I hear, constantly, well, the side effects are going to kill me. That is false. That is false. If people were dying from taking the vaccine, we would know. There's no way that could be covered up so much that no media person would be able to do it. And that's what people are saying. And there's no life-threatening properties in these vaccines. It's not like chemotherapy. In chemotherapy, there's poison in it that will poison you, hopefully poison the cancer as well. That's not what this is. This is something that doesn't have life-threatening. We know what's in the vaccine. It doesn't have life-threatening properties in it. And there's a chance, that if you take it, you may be allergic to it. Okay. In general, most people are allergic to food, insects, latex, but those allergies are not affected by this vaccine. Is it possible that you might be allergic to it? It's possible, but you know how many people have so far been allergic to the vaccine? It's like negligible. It's almost like nobody. So what's one of the other excuses? That it makes me infertile. If I take the vaccine, it's going to make me infertile. Okay, that's not true. I mean, I don't know what else to say. If you already had COVID-19, then you don't need the vaccine. Some politicians in the U.S. are using that as their excuse. That's why they don't want to get the vaccine, because, well, I already had the virus. But there is solid evidence that it is possible to get the virus twice. In fact, there's so many different variants of the virus now. Who knows? So, there's no foolproof way not to get the virus, but the vaccine is not going to hurt you, and it might protect you or somebody from getting the virus. I think it's a good way to get us out of this problem that we have, and the fact that people are fighting us. They're fighting to not take this vaccine. It's just slowing everything down. I mean, it may, you take the vaccine, but you've already had the virus. Okay, maybe it wasn't not going to help you, whatever, but it may help it may keep you from getting the virus. It may help protect your neighbor. And one thing I have to say, because he brought up the United States, the U.S. right now is more divided than they have ever been, not because of race or financial level or religion, but because of politics. People, it's not that they don't disagree. They hate each other. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, because something that would help you and you won't do it because it might help somebody else that your political views don't align with. So, there's these people that criticize, the taking of the vaccine. It's a free country. I don't have to do it if I don't want to. And they know that it's good for them, and then they don't do it because they think it's going to be good for somebody else.
That's very true. And you know what? The sad part of that is that idea of those people in America, Filipinos who has a relative here in the Philippines, they are same thinking. The hesitancy of taking the vaccine because of their relatives in the U.S., giving them the information that they get. And that's why I have friends who are hesitant in taking the vaccine because of that, because of the misinformation, because of some politics that I heard from the U.S. and they're adopting it here.
Yes.
And that is, for me, that is so sad.
It's just
all right.
the level of stupidity that's coming out of the United States.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I have to say, I can go on and on about this. I'm not going to go on and on, but Senator Rand Paul, that's just coming out and saying, well, I'm not going to take the vaccine. And then everybody, people that are his constituency, well, our senator's not taking it, so I don't need to take it if he's not taking it. And so literally there's tens of thousands of people that won't take it just because he said he's not going to take it.
Yeah, that's why if you are the leader, if you are somebody influential in your society, they look up to you and they follow you. So you must be set as a good example. You should be the first one to take it so people will believe it's safe, it's going to work, blah, blah, blah. Well, what can I do? Anyway, let's move out of America now. Another part of this is from Ingrid of Las Piñas City. Why is the Nicaraguan presidential challenger Chamorro placed under house arrest? What do you know about this?
All right.
The challenger.
Yes. Didn't we just have this conversation? I mean, just replace the names in the sentence with another country. Say Russia. I don't know. If you want to stay in power, and maybe you're worried that a lot of people know that you're up to no good, just make sure you're the only person running. Or do what Putin does and just get your loyal friends to run against you. This is the best way to get rid of an opponent. What Putin did to get rid of his opponent was he had him arrested on financial crimes. That disqualifies them from running. And that's exactly what this guy did. He's getting this woman on financial crimes. And financial crimes are the easiest, especially money laundering, because it's so hard to understand. Most people just can't get it. They can't understand financial crimes, why it's so bad, what the issue is, because it's so easy to kind of manipulate money laundering to make it mean anything. It's the best way to pin something on your opponent, and which is exactly what's happening here. Daniel Ortega, he's the guy that's running for a fourth term. He's an authoritarian dictator, blah blah blah. And he's got a big problem with this person that's running against him, because right now in Nicaragua, a lot of people don't like their president. They don't like their government. They are poor, and they don't have no future, and a lot of people are showing opposition against the guy and they want him out. Now, first of all, this person that is running against him is a woman, and that is a problem for him. And she's a journalist. That's another problem. And also, she just so happens to be the daughter of the former president of Nicaragua, Violta Barrios. Her name is Christiana, and she is a real challenge to this current president. And just recently, the police raided her house for about 5 hours, and they found that she is involved in money laundering.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, it could have been planted there.
Yeah.
The usual thing that people do, right?
Yeah, you can't plant money laundering, but they can charge her with the mismanagement of funds from her family foundation, which is nonprofit. And they look at they say, well, where did this money go? Is this, is this nonprofit money, or did you make this money, or did you pocket this money? So what did you use this money for? Did you use it for personal reasons? And they find something and they try and tie her personal reasons into that money. So she's the chairperson of this family foundation, which is nonprofit. So because of this, the prosecutors have asked that before the trial that she be not allowed to leave the country and she not be allowed to run for office.
Oh my God. Well, this is the sad part of politics. Everybody will do stupid things just for you to be able to, not to run. Somebody it's happened also in Myanmar, right? That's this issue about this lady Remember?
Yeah.
That's why they have that issue. It's
mean,
been happening all over the world.
Yeah, and in Myanmar, I mean, the military was like, well, we want to be in power, so they just took over. They just took over.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever claims now in Nicaragua right now, the U.S. has chimed in, of course, and they have asked for her to be freed immediately, and that she be allowed to run for the election. And saying that maybe the current president should spend more time dealing with poverty and violence in his country than trying to make sure no one runs against him. So they are calling for the Nicaraguan neighbors, the people around that country, to condemn his actions. Also, this group of mothers who were killed by the current president's authoritarian government have called for a nationwide strike, which they're going to do, I believe, until this candidate is released. So now the U.S. is talking about sanctions against that country based on human rights and corruption and undermining democracy, all the usual stuff. So now we get to see what's going to happen. We get to the elections in November, I believe. The U.S. is powerful like that. They can force you to be good. They can force you to do whatever they want. They can cripple your country with stopping any trade from going in and out. Just, ask the Iranians. So the question is going to be, does the president care? Does the president care if his people are starving or defecting to other places? Because he knows once he gets this election out of the way, eventually what happens? Well, it's what usually happens in these kind of situations where a president does this. Eventually it'll calm down and everybody will forget about it. So I think that's what he's hoping for.
All right. Good luck. And you know what? Take note. I noticed that if there's a woman running against a man as president, they always make trouble.
It's really hard to run against a woman, I think, if you're an authoritarian dictator, because you got to be careful of certain things because half of your population is women. And the fact that this woman is also a journalist, which authoritarian leaders hate journalists just in general because they show the rest of the world what they're up to. And part of being an authoritarian leader is to be able to tell the people exactly what you want them to hear and not what is really going on. And I think that is something that really worries him right now, especially leading up to the election, because leading up to the election, we know that a lot of these things that he has buried out in his backyard are going to start to surface. And I think that he's worried, so that's why he's getting her out of the way right away.
Okay. Good luck, Nicaragua. This from Amy of Cainta. Okay. Can British royals deny being a racist family? As archive papers reveal recent racist past. What is this?
Wow. Well, isn't this interesting? Considering what we were talking about. Yes. Again. We were talking about this on the show, a couple of weeks ago, how Meghan and Harry had split off from the royal family, and Meghan claims that the royal family, that the royal family is really worried that her and Harry's baby would come out looking black. And, and she's kind of black, but she's white enough that she doesn't mess up the royal pictures. But what if this little baby came out and it had black skin, which it might have, and kinky hair? So this set off a firestorm of people calling the royal family racist. And of course, even more people were saying that Meghan was making the whole story up to get more publicity for herself. So this has been going back and forth. Anyway, no one knew if this story was really true, if the royal family really was worried about Meghan's child coming out black. But now there is a story out. A British newspaper has unearthed some super juicy nuggets. It's a document.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a document from 1968.
Oh.
This is what they found.
Tell us, Eric.
That colored immigrants, black people, cannot be appointed into clerical positions. However, they can be hired as domestic servants, but not in any, office people. We don't want to have them as office people. And so there is a law on the books in England that says that the Queen is exempt from any laws about how you can deal with the color of people's skin. So if she turns out that she that this is true, which it seems to be, that they said that, well, we can hire black people to be domestic workers, but we can't hire them to be secretaries or office workers or stuff like that. The Queen is exempt from this. She can't be sued for this because there's a law that says that she does not have to adhere to this. So I think what people wanted to hear when this was brought to the royal family was an apology. And then they would have been fine with it. But this isn't coming. The Queen's not going to apologize. She doesn't have to answer things like this because, she's the Queen. But this, it shows that the royals are racist, or they were in 1968. I mean, in 1968, things were really different. I mean, in the United States, black people couldn't go to certain restaurants. They couldn't drink out of, well, it was in the 1950s, they couldn't drink out of certain water fountains. But, when I was growing up, I grew up in the 60s. Yeah, it was true. The United States was a different place then. We didn't have to adhere to racist laws like we do now. And it's the same thing, in England. Certain laws that were enacted 50 years ago. But this leads to a bigger question now, and that is, how long will the royals last? You know? I mean, everybody loves the Queen. Everybody there loves the Queen, especially the older generations. But once she passes away, because right now, people are supporting the Queen. Yeah, okay, so she was kind of racist back in the 60s, but people are still supporting her. But when she passes, who are they going to support after that?
We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who's left? I mean, Meghan had her chance. Everybody loved Meghan. She was beautiful. She's marrying, a good-looking Harry with the red hair. She was a chance to be the next Princess Diana, but that ship has come and gone. People do not like her now. In fact, most people absolutely hate her now. So, and Harry and Meghan, they have broken away, and they're coming out and saying that the royals are all racist. And the royals are saying we're not racist. So, now we're looking at the policies of the royals, and it's showing that they are racist, or they were racist. And this gives some credibility to Meghan.
They will always deny anyway. Nobody will admit that they're racist.
No, of course.
They will not.
No.
So, well, I don't know what will happen to the royals after the Queen passes. But we'll wait and see.
I mean, Meghan and Harry, they don't care because they got a Netflix deal. They don't need to be the royal family anymore. They're making millions and millions.
And plus, they're happy. And, Meghan is a celebrity in the United States. And everybody, some people hate her already. But you know what? I don't think it's a big deal between the couple. I think they're enjoying their life in the U.S.
I mean, that's a whole different thing. But, I mean, do we need a king and queen of England anymore? I mean, the queen doesn't really have power anymore. I mean, there's a government now. They exist basically because the public allows them to exist. The public is okay with sending with paying taxes so that the queen can live in that giant house and can have, lots of cool stuff. And she can, she makes grand gestures. But once she dies, who's going to make grand gestures that anybody's going to care about? It's not like, in the 1300s or the 1400s where the King of England had a lot of power. And if you said anything against him, you get your head chopped off. They don't really have any power anymore. They're basically there for the public. So I wonder what is going to happen now. They're going through a lot of problems now. When the Queen passes, what is she, like 150 now? She's really old. So eventually she's going to pass away, just like I think her husband just passed away. And then after that, Charles, I mean, who's going to be king? And is anybody going to pay any attention to him?
Yep. Okay. Let's talk about royals someday. Let's go to Mila. Mila from California, USA. Oh, okay. I think this is one of your favorite subject before. How true Trump will be reinstated in August? An absurd fantasy. What can you share with us?
All right. So this goes to show you that if you say something over and over, no matter how absurd it is, some people are going to believe it. They're going to start believing it. And this is one of those times. That dude from MyPillow, the guy who owns MyPillow, he keeps saying that the Supreme Court has seen the evidence and they are going to be overturning the election sometime in August. And you know who else has been saying this same thing? Donald Trump. According to sources, he's been trying to sell this to people on how possible it is that he may be reinstated to the presidency. Also, Sidney Powell, the lawyer who said the voting machines in the United States were somehow tampered with, who's now being sued for $1 billion for saying this, she's also saying that the president is going to be reinstated soon. It's coming. The My Pillow guy, he came on the Steve Bannon podcast. Remember Steve Bannon? We used to talk about him.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's not in jail yet. Anyway, he's saying that communism is coming to the U.S. and people are just eating that up. But he's saying with all this evidence, it's going in front of the Supreme Court that they will overturn this election and Trump will again rule the United States.
Oh, my God.
By the way, he's being sued for $1 billion as well for making false statements. Let me just, one last thing. You remember Michael Flynn, the security advisor that they kicked out, whatever? So he came on the news again. He was at a conservative news conference, and he said that the U.S. should have a military coup just like the one in Myanmar.
Oh, my God.
Now, isn't that interesting? That is his best idea, is that we need to have a military coup. The military needs to step in and forcibly remove Biden and put Trump back in. Now, that is insane. And later he had to go, well, my words were taken out of context. And people are going, that's exactly what you said. You said it's just like, it should be like Myanmar. We should be able to, the military should be able to come in. Oh, well, you guys are messing up what, no, okay, anyway. So, we continue with what is known as the big lie. First of all, let me just make a point right here. The Supreme Court is not in session in August. Where did they get that date? That is a mystery. Also, one other point. The Supreme Court cannot overturn elections. So this My Pillow dude, he needs to study his law a little bit more. Anyway, they have never, ever overturned an election. The Supreme Court ruled on how certain ballots can be perceived in Bush versus Gore, and I'm sure that's what they're going to use as their example, but by no means did they overturn an election. They did not overturn that election, and they are not going to overturn this election because that's not what the Supreme Court does. The only way that Biden can be removed at this point would be through impeachment. That is the only way that he can be removed. That does not make Trump president if he is impeached. That makes Kamala Harris president, which I think is hilarious, by the way. So, if Trump could have stopped the certification of the election on January 11th, then there are other possible scenarios that might be happening right now. But he couldn't. He couldn't. His Republicans came in. They tried to stop it. They couldn't. He had his massive crowd storm the Capitol to try and find people, to try and find the vice president to hang him so he could not certify the election, which is the silliest thing I've ever heard. But they couldn't. They couldn't do it. They couldn't get that done. So they did not overturn the election. So Trump cannot overturn the election. Let me just be clear. Legally speaking, now, yes, it's true. If they had a military coup and they could come in and take over the country, let me tell you, that is not going to happen. I got 100%. Anybody wants to bet me on that is not going to happen because the military has already come out and said, we are not doing anything like that. So I don't, it's just absurd. It is trying to make him feel better. I don't know what his thing is, but it's not going to happen. Donald Trump is not going to be president unless he tries to run again and he wins.
If he wins. But you know what, with whatever thinking his people are, doing right now, I don't know. Somebody has to tell him, Mr. President, you better, accept the truth that you are no longer the president. I don't know. Maybe somebody's still whispering to him, no, you really want the presidency. You have to take back the seat there. Or some crazy stuff you're hearing from, I don't know, his friends, making him feel good probably and believing that they can do it, but I don't think so. Well, America will not do things like this.
No. And the first thing is they say that the people that are whispering in his ear, hey, Mr. Trump, this is not going to happen. You are not going to be president in August. He gets rid of them, and then he only listens to the people. He only has people in the room that are saying, you know what? I think we're going to be able to do this. I think we're going to get the election overturned. So, he surrounds himself with those people, but it ain't going to happen.
I don't think so also. Anyway, our next question is from Renren from Santa Rosa, Laguna. Okay. Renren, the US and the EU have been beating the drum about the use of tax-friendly jurisdiction by MNSCs to avoid paying taxes, aka corporate tax abuse. They want their companies to pay more taxes instead of hiding them in offshore accounts. Do this new proposal have any hope of becoming law?
What a fascinating question that is. Yeah, they've been chasing.
That's always a good question.
Always good. They've been chasing companies for years to pay taxes, especially if they originate from the EU. But of course, those bank accounts they have bank accounts in other countries, and you have a company in your country, but you start your bank account in Ireland, or you put your company, you may be based in one country, but your accounts are all coming out of Ireland because Ireland has really good taxes. So EU, they want that tax, especially of companies making over $916 million a year. Okay, so it's not going to be geared toward like you and me, Lolly, but the EU has passed some measures. Just this is maybe where Renren got this. Just in the last week or 2 weeks, they've been passing these legislations to get companies to be more transparent, because they are losing, or the global market is losing something that they estimated $154 billion a year because of people not paying their taxes. And the U.S. has come out and proposed a global tax on all these NECs, especially from rich countries, to take away the incentive. So right now, people, why not do it? If it's legal, kind of legal, why not, put my money in a country where I don't have to pay taxes on it, or I have to pay like a little bit of tax on it. So the United States is trying to put this overall tax on it, so they have no reason to do this anymore. And a lot of this comes from the pandemic, that they're trying to crack down on this because of the pandemic. The pandemic, countries are hurting for money. And while big corporations like Amazon and Google are scoring big during the pandemic, a lot of these other companies, a lot of other places are not. And the fact that these big giant companies are not paying their 23% in tax. And they want to pay 12%, and they want to go to countries where they only have to pay 10%. So what the United States wants to do is they go, okay, well, all right, everybody who has accounts overseas, they have to pay 8%, a flat, that's what everybody has to pay. So then now all of a sudden, okay, it's not so great anymore to, hide my money in these places, so I don't have to pay tax. So, it's getting around these loopholes. I think in Ireland there's a 12% tax. So, hey, that's where I would put my company assets if I had to pay tax on them. So all those profits. So in the United States, the minimum tax on profit is 21%. And now they're going to add this minimum of 8% for all overseas American companies. So if they add 8%, well, then that is, that's going to take away my incentive to have my money in Ireland.
Okay, yeah.
But the question is here, here's the question for Renren. How do you do this? And who gets to? It's easy to tax stuff that's coming over borders in customs. And this is how they're going to do a lot of this. But what about tech services? This is going to be the issue, is how do you tax tech services that comes from advertising, and they don't have any employees, but they make billions of dollars in advertising over tech. And you can set up your company in the Bahamas, and you never have to pay hardly any tax. So how are they going to deal with this? And I think that is the big question that's coming up. And they're going to have to look at this because, like I said before, global economy is the way of the future. This whole idea of America first and only America, it's not going to work. It's not going to work in the future. We are a global economy. China is too powerful now, as we've talked about before. So they're going to have to figure out a way to tax these places to keep that, because to keep the economy rolling, to keep this global economy rolling, we have to figure out a way to collect taxes. That's the only way to keep it working. So I mean, I guess that's the new dilemma. I mean, the EU thinks they've come up with a way. They've come up with a way to tax their people who are trying to do this.
Okay. So, I think we need to wait for the U.S. to make this thing happen. This new thing, proposal of the new law. You think this will?
Yeah, I mean, it's for people that are making $1 billion. So if you're making $1 billion, okay, you have to pay tax on it. All right, you instead of having 500 million in profit, you're going to have 420 million in profit. Still $420 million. It's it's that kind of level of money that we're talking about.
Okay, if that is so that means I don't need to be really rich, Eric. So I don't need to pay that much tax.
In other words, don't be a billionaire because you're just going to have to pay tax on it.
I know, right? All right, let's go to Eddie of Parañaque City. Why do you think Belarusian activists stabbed his throat during a court hearing in Minsk?
Oh my goodness, high drama in the court. I mean, this guy who is this is in the world news. This guy who's an activist, he's against the government in Belarus, which is a lot of people are. He was in court to answer typical charges for activists, such as organizing a protest, resisting arrest. But he said that he was told that if he didn't plead guilty, that he would be thrown in jail and his family would be thrown in jail. Now, I can believe this is true because he's in Belarus. But instead of the guilty plea, he stabbed himself in the throat. Now, how does a guy get something who is under arrest to stab himself in the throat? I guess it's possible. I mean, I don't know what it was. I'm not exactly sure how he did it, but right now in Belarus, things are, tough. The opposition leaders right now said, we need to end this stuff that's going on in Belarus, that this terrorism, and the terrorism is coming from the government. They're meaning not the guy, they're meaning the government. This man who was taken in and threatened that if he did not plead guilty, that they would, torture him and get his family, and this kind of repression and torture, it needs to stop. The leader of Belarus right now is known as Europe's last dictator. In the last election, the opposition was a woman, and supposedly she was going to win. And then the president said, oh, no, I got 80% of the vote, which is highly disputed. And she had to leave the country. She was literally exiled from the country. She was thrown out. So she's waiting to come back in. She still believes, I think, that she won the election because nobody knows. And now the EU and the US said that the election that they had in Belarus was completely fraudulent. But like I said, like we said before, it's who, controls the military. That's who wins, whoever controls the military. So, this protest has come up, there's many protests that have come up. This protest came up about the election, and this, it forced, a lot of this has come down to this plane that was forced down with this journalist. And he was arrested, and this has sparked this outrage and made all these protests and everything that have come up because of this journalist who was not in Belarus. They were flying over Belarus, and because they were in Belarus airspace, they were forced out of the sky, and then he was arrested. So, and now the president of Belarus is calling up Putin and saying, you need to help me. We'll take care of this matter because the journalist is Russian. I mean, like I said, it's high drama there in Belarus. There's all kinds of levels to this thing. But I think this guy, by sticking himself in the throat, he has brought a lot of attention to Belarus that we didn't have before. And so now everybody's looking at Belarus and saying, hey, listen, something's got to happen here. And I think that president of Belarus now has got a lot of heat, a lot of people that are looking for his neck because of what is going on there and how it needs to change.
All right, so many drama all over. So now I don't like the drama. Anyway, there's another, this one is a good question. Interesting question from Pastor Ed of Pasig City. How do you think foreign investor will look at Duterte tandem for the 2022 national election. This is like the father, I mean, Sara Duterte and Rodrigo Duterte, the father and daughter.
It's the father and the daughter, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. First of all, I need to ask a question. Is this completely legal? Like, I know I tried to look up constitutional law the other day, and I don't know. I don't know if it, if the president ran for vice president and the daughter ran for president, and then he wins, and then she wins, and then as soon as they get into office, she steps down. I mean,
And the father takes over.
is that under constitutional law? I mean, what's going to happen there? Did they even think about that when they wrote the Constitution of the Philippines? So, the question was, I think, about foreign investors. I mean, a lot of foreign investors pulled out anyway because of Duterte, because Duterte says stuff. And I know that, people in the Philippines are like, oh, that's just him talking. That's just the way he talks. He's just a funny guy. But a lot of investors were like, hey, this is scary now. And so we're just going to check out of the Philippines for a while until things calm down, or maybe he gets out of office and then maybe we'll come back. So if he comes back again with his daughter as president, I don't know, will investors in the Philippines currently go, okay, this is just too much for us, and then they pull out, or will they stay, or, this is just something, I'm from the school of thought, and I know Lali Tolentino doesn't always agree with me, that Duterte, if one of those candidates in the last election had just dropped out, Duterte would not be president. I know a lot of people don't believe me on that. But if you take up, I think a lot of the candidates, they canceled each other out. And if they do the same thing again, the same thing is going to happen again, I believe. And I think Duterte won the vote last time because what were there, three or four candidates that all canceled each other out, and so he ended up winning. So it's so hard to tell now. The election is not that far away. It's coming up.
It's really like a year from now.
And we don't know, we still don't really have a good idea on who's running for president.
No, we don't know. Oh, and for me personally, Duterte tandem is just, for me, it's just an imagination. They're trying to float that idea of putting these two together to run. But, at the end of the day, I don't think so. I don't think this, it's either if his daughter will run, she will run alone, but not with the father. I don't know. I mean, because, the good thing is the opposition is not floating their candidates yet, because I remember before.
They want to wait and see. They want to see who's running first.
Yeah. If I'm going to run, I'll be quiet for a while and see who's gonna run. If I see somebody, no, I'm not gonna run. I will not be wasting money for this, because you need billions of pesos to run as president of this country. Yeah. So it's not a good idea. I mean, if Duterte will run, I don't know also, but things can happen. But
things can happen. I mean, before, remember in the last election, Duterte should run. And Duterte's like, I was at the dinner watching him speak when he said, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to run for president.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everything changed. And the Philippines is not like the United States. You don't run as a ticket. You don't run as a single group. You have to be voted in. The vice president has to be voted in, and the president has to be voted in. In the United States, if you vote the president in, then he just picks whoever he wants to be vice president. So it's not the same. So, which is why we have a vice president and a president who are on opposite sides of the table right now in the Philippines.
Yes.
But, this whole thing about, Marcos running, and maybe maybe Duterte will be the vice president. I guess they want to float and see what the public sees and what the public believes and what they think they're going to do, and then kind of like mesh it together at the last minute based on that. And
that's what they're doing.
I don't think a lot of investors are going to leave the Philippines until something happens after the election, like in the last election. The last election came and went. Investors, nobody did anything crazy until crazy stuff started to happen, and then when the crazy stuff started to happen, then a lot of investors picked up and left. But other investors came in. I could go on that subject for a while, but whether they are going to leave because of a Duterte ticket, I think most people, if you're here, if you're making money, then they're just going to wait and see how it looks, how the outcome looks. But we got freaking Manny Pacquiao may still run for president.
Yeah, they're floating his name also. So we don't know till the last minute, till they file their candidacy.
But here's what I find that's interesting, and you can tell me this. So they have talked about about Marcos and Duterte ticket. They've talked about a Pacquiao Duterte ticket, and now a Duterte ticket. So somebody wants him to run for vice president. And I've often wondered, does Duterte want to deal with this again? Does he want to do it again? Isn't he tired of this by now?
Well, if he is true to himself when he said this before, I will not be running anymore. This will be my first and last, as president of the country, because I'm old. That's what he said. I hope he will just stick with his word, because the last time he was saying, I'm not going to run, but he ran the last minute.
He ran the last minute.
It's all strategy that they're doing.
Yeah, I know. So, and they're good at it. They are good political strategists. The Duterte team, I got to say it, they are geniuses. So let's just, I'm sure this is all, they're figuring this out as they go along, and we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, and the sad part is we have a partisan here in the Philippines that should be, removed already, because, that divide us a lot.
I totally agree with you on that, Lali Tolentino.
Thank you, Eric. So I know whom to vote next time. All right. Let's go to Pastor Ed. So let's make our decision later. From Jeannie of Makati City. Oh, okay. How cool is that in Washington? Offer prices to encourage people get vaccinated against COVID-19. Lottery drawing worth $2 million. Just like some Filipinos' ideas.
Yes. So, in case there was a little bit of garble there on the mic, but so the United States, or Washington State rather, is trying to get people to get vaccinated, and so they're going to have a lottery that you can win something if you get vaccinated, just like what they're doing in the Philippines, which we talked about, I believe, last week.
Yes.
Washington State try to get everyone vaccinated. So if you come to get vaccinated, you'll be entered in the lottery, which will give away $250,000 a week for 4 weeks. That's $1 million. And then they're going to do one big grand giveaway for $1 million. It's called, I love this, a shot of a lifetime. How clever is that?
Wow.
Anyway, so there's also a drawing for kids too. So you can get a scholarship to 4 different public universities. If you're not a citizen of the United States, you can still be entered. You just have to be a resident of Washington State. So they are, the governor there, they want to lift all restrictions by June 30th. That is, if they can get 70% of the state vaccinated. And so this is part of the reason they're doing this, is because they want to lift all the restrictions, get everything, the economy back going again. So they want to get this done by the end of June. So they think that money is the incentive, the chance to win $1 million.
Why not? Can I migrate there now, Eric?
Hey, they got the same thing in the Philippines now, down in Las Piñas. You get a house. You get a house and 2 motorcycles.
Yeah. And food stuff. So anyway, that's a good idea. I think if it is a good idea, why not?
Why not?
Whatever.
Why not? There's all it's a good reason to have a lottery. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having lotteries as long as they're getting something out of it.
Yeah. All right. From Renato of Makati. Rainy days started already in the Philippines. What can you suggest? What do Filipinos should do during the rainy season during the pandemic? All
right. So I've done a little bit of research on this. And does COVID-19 spread more when it's raining, during the rainy season? And some say it does. And some say it doesn't. So some say that high humidity is conducive to the spread of the virus. And there's some that say that it can cause a severe spread of the virus. There's, some that say that rain has absolutely no bearing on the virus at all. But it stands to reason that, and this is just from my looking at all this information, that more people get sick during the rainy season. than they do other seasons, and that your immune system is at the lowest during the rainy season. So just like in the winter season in the Western countries. So it stands to reason that there is a better chance of getting the virus, I would think, during the rainy season because your immune system is lower. And more people get sicker during the rainy season. So now the virus, from what I understand, is not passed around in the rain. However, it's passed around in a sneeze or a cough, which can be caused by the rain. And they say that a wet mask cannot protect you as well as a dry mask. Okay. So now there are rules that I have read that are good for protecting yourself during the rainy season. And those rules sound pretty familiar. Things like avoid touching your face, wear a mask, wash your hands, eat freshly cooked foods, avoid raw foods, stay 1 to 2 meters away from everyone else, avoid crowded places. It kind of sounds exactly the same as the regular times, but and everybody's been watching this show on Netflix called The Rain. I kind of watched it a little bit, where a deadly virus has contaminated the rain, and so the rain comes down and it gives you. If you get hit by the rain, you get the virus. Okay, that's Netflix. But people are saying, well, the rain, it washes away the virus. Okay, I've been looking that up. That is not true.
Let's talk in the rain. I don't think so. Also,
So
maybe hot water. Maybe hot water from the shower. But not from the rain.
They're saying, that rainfall can spread bacteria, but it doesn't spread viruses. And there's a difference. There's a difference between, because the rain does have bacteria in it. I know. Because it can fall and a pool of water from the rain can turn green because of photosynthesis, whatever, and that's bacteria. But viruses, according to, now this is not me, I don't know much about this science stuff in this particular thing, but there are people that saying that viruses cannot be transferred in rainwater. So that's the best I can do. That's the best answer I can give you on that.
All right. Just for me, your protection from the rain is always carry your umbrella and your raincoat if it is raining.
Don't get sick from anything.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more from Mirna of Manila. There are Filipinos still believing that COVID vaccine are not safe. They believe God will protect them, so they don't want it. But they feel bad when they hear some friends and relatives don't want to be with them till they get vaccinated. What is your thought and observation on the issue?
All right. Okay. Believing that God will protect you from anything, in my opinion, is a misunderstanding. God gave you a brain to make decisions, to protect yourself. Of course, we can debate that for hours. If God controls your destiny, if he gave us free will, okay. All right. But I think, God really tried to give us common sense here. I mean, he put in our heads a brain that tells us that stepping off a 30-story building will kill us. He gave us the ability to read, so we can read that on the side of a pack of cigarettes that they will kill us. He also gave us the ability to reason that there is a chance that you can die from COVID. Now, there's a slim chance that you will die, but he gave us the knowledge that tells us that we could die from this disease. And he also gave us the knowledge that if we take a vaccine, that there is a good chance that we probably will not get sick. So, he gave us intelligence. He also gave us stupidity. And sometimes we do the things that are not good for us, such as drinking too much or choosing a candy bar instead of an apple, or choosing not to take the vaccine even if it's offered to us. So, this is where, I just have to think that if we're talking about, God helping us out, I think God is helping us out in this particular situation by giving us the knowledge to do what's right. And if he wanted us all to die from this virus, we'd all be dead already. But that's not the case. And I don't think, here again, I don't think that there's a big giant guy looking down from the sky giving us the world a virus because he's mad at us about something. I think that this just happened. And I think that, we have brains, and those brains gave us a vaccine. Some of the smartest brains in the world put together a vaccine in a year. And so I believe that that we, have a chance here. We have a chance to show that we are intelligent and that we can do this. I mean, I think in the question it said that, some relatives don't want to see other relatives because they aren't vaccinated. Well, okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, they're using their brain to say, you know what, I don't want to get this disease because I'm not vaccinated yet. So I don't want to see you yet because you're not vaccinated yet. Why don't we get vaccinated? Then we can see each other again. Isn't that the smart thing to do? I mean, isn't that the intelligence that we can use that God gave us? And, I understand. And I don't think you should feel bad because your relatives don't want to see you. Because right now, if you love your relatives, you don't want them to get sick, do you? I mean, I don't want, anybody I know or anybody I love to get sick because of me. That'll make me feel worse. So I think that we have a chance here, especially in the Philippines, because the Philippines, we don't have the money that a lot of other people have in other countries. And I think this is a chance that we need to come together and, utilize what God gave us. God gave us the intelligence to make a vaccine. Now we have to be smart enough to take it. And I think here's a good chance for us to do that.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Eric. And then the other things that people, because I interviewed other people about after, reading that question, is that, some people, a friend says, you know what, I will believe science. Who are those scientists? They studied, what the doctors, they studied everything. So whom I should believe? I should believe the people who has experience in things like this. So if you are just listening to story, maybe you are reading fake news, maybe you are hearing stories from relatives in the US that vaccine is not safe because they just formulated this for a very short period of time. You don't know the effect, things like that. So these people that I spoke with, they really they said, well, those people who said that, we don't want to see you if you're not vaccinated yet, it's their prerogative. It's their right to say that I don't want to see you yet. It's either I can, maybe you can give me that virus and I will give it to my relatives and all that. So they have to understand that principle of not seeing you yet. And then why don't you just do whatever you have to do? Do the right thing. Like you said, God gave us the wisdom. God gave us all the talent and everything. Why not just take it? Whatever God is telling. It's not like God is, oh yes, of course we need to pray to God every day. Thank God for all the blessing that He has given all of us. But then, yes, He gave us brain.
Well, God gave us a lot of wisdom, and He gave me the wisdom to be able to watch that clock over there and realize that our show is out of time. I know, but what some great observations that you've had today, Lolly. Thank you to all the people that sent in the great questions that we got a chance to discuss today. For me, Eric Lecain and Lolly Tolentino here on the World News Jam on DZRJ and RJ TV and YouTube at RJAM News. Please be safe out there. Get your vaccine like Lolly says, and we'll get through this. And for now, Lolly Tolentino, me, Eric Lecain, we will see everybody next week. We'll see you then.